7 or 8 a.m. in the morning and waiting for the whole family to wake up. And we'd all be there, and we all said, nope, we're going to wait
7 or
until
8.
everybody. Yeah,
I would have my
well,
parents up. My sister and I would have my parents up at 5 in the morning. We'd be jumping on the bed. We would be grabbing our parents. We would physically pull our parents out of the bed. I mean, yes, it's the stories you've heard about kids and their parents here. My goodness, and Nash, you got little ones too. God knows what they do on Christmas morning. And by the way, Nash, listen. Frank has cut people off on the road. No, I haven't cut people off on the road. People have cut me off on the road. The thing is, I've done a better job controlling my road rage. Let's just say that, because 10 years ago, I had problems with road rage left and right. I'll admit it, a decade ago, I couldn't control it. Now I can't. Although sometimes I feel like I want to cut some people off on the road. Maybe occasionally. Maybe you, Sean. I don't know.
I don't know.
I want to cut you off. You're a pal of mine. But then again, we shared the roadways. We don't own them. Hey, listen, buddy. We got some NBA games. I guess... you know what? From a sports aspect, and we're going to get into sports coming up. And by the way, we're on from 9. Well, actually, we're on from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time. That is 9 a.m. to noon in the Central time zone. We're on for 3 hours. We got various topics. You can get in on the show by calling area code 405 5 or about that fall start. Hold on. Area code 405 562 5463. Once again, area code 405 562 5463. Or you can text us at 77948. And we're going to get into the brunt of the sports conversation before you know it. But, you know, I got to tell you from a sports aspect, and the one thing I do remember, this was not much during the 80s, because I'm a child of the 80s and 90s. I was born in 1981. I grew up in both the 80s and the 90s. Which decade was better? I'll say the 80s. Though the 90s were pretty good themselves.
I'm just saying, Frank, are you talking about the NBA, about what was
the Bulls?
You know what?
They always play now on Christmas. They've returned to the Christmas
Go
schedule
back.
the last years. But 8 o'clock, NBC. I always remember
flashback. Have a flashback of 36 years. I'd have to say, I'm going to go back to 1979.
Before we were
after Michigan. I'll go back to the NCAA tournament game when Michigan State beat Indiana State in the national championship game.
Right.
After that, Michigan State beat Indiana State, and you had two young guys who were going to make a difference in the NBA. You had the hick from French Lick, which was Larry Bird, and you had the guy from East Lansing, Michigan, the African-American Magic Johnson. If you're talking about what was the best era, clearly it was the 1980s. 1980s for the NBA certainly made basketball, and it was huge. Celtics, Lakers, Lakers, Pistons, Celtics, Pistons. I mean, there were a lot of great rivalries in the NBA back then, and it was...
Okay, we are live. Sports Drive, of course, Frank Sprankle is not back yet. Of course, we're having technical difficulties. I'm glad that I had to log out and then log back in. So I got my difficulties fixed. What we were talking about before Nash says about the commercial break, we were talking about the era of the NBA, about what I thought was the best. And ladies and gentlemen, the 80s and the 90s were the best era, in my view, for the NBA. The 2000s were great. There were some great matchups there. Clearly, when Boston and LA met in 2008, it felt like living in the decade of the 80s. Now
Sean, we got to go to commercial. Yeah, Sean, we got to go to commercial. Enough with that. Play to talk about as you are riding down the Sports Drive here on Jock Journal Radio. We'll be
Time for commercials. If you listen hard enough, you might hear the subliminal messages telling you to buy whatever we are selling.
1-877 Cards for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS, Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Also on the web at carsforkids.com. That's Cars with a K. We're a recognized 501c3 charity organization, so you'll receive a maximum tax deduction. What's more, you'll receive a free vacation voucher of 3 days and 2 nights.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS, Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Are you looking for the web's best sports news? Visit jockjournal.com. Sports media has lost its touch. It seems that journalists are scared to report what they see, in fear of losing access to the teams they cover. At jockjournal.com, you get inside information on the entire NFL community without all the politics or fears other writers have. That's jockjournal.com. When you need the NFL sports news, information, opinions, fantasy football, or discussions, there is only one place to go, and it's jockjournal.com.
You are listening to Jock Journal Radio. News, opinion, and discussion for all you jock stars.
Support for this show comes from Material. Material is a simple and intuitive e-commerce platform that lets you get your online store started without paying a dime. That's right. No ads, no setup costs, no transaction fees. Experience a fresh and easy new way to sell online by signing up at material.com today.
Welcome back to the Sports Drive, where we give you sports radio that doesn't suck.
I think that I've become a little bit
obsessed
with sports.
All right, welcome back to the Sports Drive. Actually, you are cruising on the Sports Drive here on jockjournalradio.com. I'm Frank Sprankle. Sean Mann also joining us. Steve Nash. Pardon me, not Steve. Here's the thing. I knew a Steve Nash. I said I can't be saying Steve Nash here because not Steve Nash, the NBA great, but there was a Steve Nash I knew that I used to work for in Kansas City. I work with too many Nashes. So my apologies, Nash Carey, but you are behind the glass here this morning. Hey, listen, Christmas is coming. You may be traveling for hours on end. You may be stuck in a boring airport waiting for your flight that is being delayed. Well, what are you going to do to kill the time? Sports Mania. Name that sport. That's the answer for you. It's courtesy of iTunes. Yes, download it on iTunes. It is a sports trivia game. Play the sports trivia game that everyone is talking about. Played by thousands upon thousands of sports fans. By the way, you can get it free for 2 days only. Remember, it's available on iTunes. Sports Mania. Name that sport. Want to kill the time? There you go, my friends. All right.
I was just going to say, though, Frank, too, about the, a little bit, if I could add a little bit more going back to the Christmas tradition. I have kind of come to the conclusion and kind of agreed that maybe it would be necessary if maybe the NBA should not play NBA games on Christmas Day. I think sometimes it'd be better to do it that way because I think, it's like what I'm saying is that there are a lot of players that would like to be home with their families, and it's unfortunate that they do it. Back then, in the days of the NBA, they used to play Christmas Eve, and then they gave all the teams Christmas Day off. Yeah, but now I think it has always become a tradition, I think, going back years, like 70s or 80s with Christmas.
Well, I got to tell you something. Do you know what's going to happen on Christmas Eve? And by the way, we're going to get into Thursday night football. God knows, why are we getting into Thursday night football here? I mean, I guess we got a boring matchup. But you know what? The NFL is playing on Christmas Eve next week. And it's going to be, the Oakland Raiders are hosting the San Diego Chargers. Listen, we're going to talk about Los Angeles later. We're going to be talking about Los Angeles a week from today. But let me ask you, do you think this game should be played on Christmas Eve? Yes or no?
You know what? With Christmas Eve, they really do not have really anything big that day. I'd have to say that probably the best scenario would be by far is to not have that game played on Christmas Eve. I don't know if anybody will be watching. These two teams are not very good. Oakland, of course, is keeping their slight playoff hopes alive. San Diego has been done for a long time now, so I don't see it happening.
All right. I was talking with a few people about this, and if the NFL wants to play a Thursday Christmas Eve game, that's fine. But why not play in the afternoon? I mean, why not play it at, okay, if the game's in Oakland, you got a couple of West Coast teams. Why not play the game at either noon Pacific or 1 p.m. Pacific, which would make it on the East Coast 3 p.m. Eastern or 4 p.m. Eastern. Let's make it a late afternoon game. Well, a late afternoon for those that are living on the East Coast. But as far as those people that are living in California that are actually going to this game, I mean, it's all California here, an old AFL rivalry, Chargers and Raiders. Why don't we make it an afternoon game? Because then people can watch the game. Then they could go home and be with their families, roast chestnuts on an open fire, wait for Santa Claus to break and enter in their house. I mean, why don't we make it I think the NFL made a mistake by playing this game on Christmas Eve night. I honestly think it should have been a Christmas Eve afternoon game. What about that, Sean? Christmas Eve afternoon.
They've had that's a possibility
They've done that
with
before.
Christmas Eve, and of course for the next few weeks, of course, the NFL this weekend has a game on Saturday night, which has got serious playoff implications for the New York Jets. But we'll save that for tomorrow when we get Josh back. But the way I'm viewing it and the way I look at it is that I think with all professional sports, I don't think they should play professional sports games on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, because what I'm trying to say is that people like to have a chance to be with their families, and players want to have a chance to rest themselves, and then maybe do it the day after Christmas, Boxing Day, which is a traditional day up in Canada. That makes perfect sense.
Boxing Day, is that the day in which people knock each other down?
It's a day for Canada.
For Canada, you know what? Canada's weird. I mean, really, because my dad, I gotta tell you, Canada. I gotta say, kudos to Canada. They gave us ice hockey, but they have their Thanksgiving the second Monday in October. And the reason why I was telling my dad this, because my dad worked for the Canadian National. I just think that he worked for the Canadian National Railroad, was part of their police department, and for them having their Thanksgiving, Sean, the second weekend or the second Monday in October. Here's what's weird about it. I mean, on top of getting the traditional Thanksgiving dinner that we're used to, the turkey and the dressing and all the stuff that goes with it, and they also have the CFL. The CFL also plays a game that afternoon. In fact, as a matter of fact, it was Montreal and Toronto. If you look at their Thanksgiving, it's not like the big travel holiday that it is for us. People, they stay home, they eat, they enjoy each other's company, they watch the CFL game, whoever is playing, and then they got to go back to work and school the next day. I mean, listen, could you imagine having to go to school the day after Thanksgiving and being hung over by nothing but turkey meat?
True, and that's a good point with with Thanksgiving. I can understand that because of how traditional it is, but with Christmas, it's just different situation and different thing for timing. But there has been a debate about that for years, about why play Christmas games, for the NBA. I can agree with that too. Maybe one day they'll decide, what, give teams off the 24th and 25th. Let them enjoy spending Christmas holiday with their families, because everybody's looking at their electronic devices. They're looking at, new movies, new DVDs and stuff like that too.
Oh, yeah, they want to watch, I don't know what the big DVD is or whatnot. And by the way, hey, what do you think of NBA games on Christmas Day, or what do you think of the NFL playing on Christmas Eve with the Raiders and Chargers? Should it be Christmas Eve night? Do you like it? Should maybe be Christmas Eve afternoon?
No.
Hold on, Sean. Should it be afternoon should it be Christmas Eve afternoon, or should there not be a Christmas Eve game? Hey, get in on the action. 405 area code 562-5463. Call in or text us 77948. Once again, 405-562-5463, or text us 77948. What do you think of all of this in terms of the NBA? Should they play on Christmas, or should the NFL not play a Christmas Eve game? Should it be that night? Are you satisfied? Or should it be a Christmas Eve afternoon? Listen, call us, text us. I don't care what you do. Sean and I want to hear what you have to think. All right, listen. As far as the Christmas Eve, these Christmas Day NBA games go, I understand where you're coming from in terms of family. I understand that. And in terms of people want to stay home, that it should be about family. It should be about opening the presents. It should be about rocking around the Christmas tree. It should be about eating a nice dinner. Lord knows I'm looking forward to eating that nice dinner in 8 days, which is going to be turkey and all the trimmings and lasagna. But there are